Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Grumman Pilot YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about pilot decision making. And this is video back from an audition tape I did for the Air Safety Foundation of AOPA back in 2006 as applying for their job of a public speaker. But it's still a very great course of information. So let's go and see what kind of decisions pilots make. So we would like to ask you please subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notify to stay current with our content.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Decision Making for Pilots. Do the right thing. And we're talking about judgment here. I'd like to thank up front the generous support of Mr. Lessing Stern and pilots like you for sharing their real-world aviation experiences with us. Now, why decision making for pilots? Well, surely this pilot didn't say, hey, watch me go out and destroy my airplane. They say that any landing you can walk away from is a good one. And a great one is one where the aircraft can be used for flight again. Well, this might have been a good landing, but it was far from a great landing. So why decision making? Well, look at the statistics. Statistics don't lie. Statisticians do. 75% of all aviation-related accidents, pilot. That's a number that's too big to be ignored. So it seems to us the biggest thing you bring to the cockpit is your decision-making ability. And we want that to be as good as possible. This data, by the way, from the 2004 NOL report based upon 2003 accident data. So why do we have problems? Well, design problems pretty much have been fixed. The FAA doesn't like aircraft falling out of the air, and neither do we. So they address this with service letters, service bulletins, and ADs. The information problem is handled. Pilots today have access to weather on the internet, their smartphone, XM weather, ways that pilots before in the 60s would have been amazed about. So what does that leave us with? The human problem. Failures of judgment, and let's face it, failures of human nature in general. These are not so easily addressed. So what's at risk for us? Could night VFR be abolished? Could we have increased certificate requirements from the FAA to make us better and hence safer pilots? Or do we have airline-style regs for general aviation? What happens, folks, if we don't start doing better? Will the government regulate us into submission? We suffer here in the United States of relative freedom in general aviation. We can fly in uncontrolled airspace. Look at Europe. There is no uncontrolled airspace. Look at the health of general aviation there and other places in the world. We'd really prefer that the FAR not get any bigger. This year alone, it grew by more than 30 pages. So why do pilots get into trouble? Well, too much utility in our aircraft? Do we try to make it do too much? Is it a lack of ability? Do we put the airplane into an attitude where we don't have the skill at the table to pull it out? Or is it just too much fun? We like to go out and do something reckless with our airplane. In either of these cases, we enter situations requiring more than either we or our aircraft can bring to the table. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There is a risk in flying. Most of us don't invest enough in our own proficiency. We like to fly, and it's fun. But sometimes we deceive ourselves about the risks that are involved. And our aircraft, let's face it, are sometimes not quite as capable as we'd like them to be. But we still try it. We lack rigid guidelines and SOPs here like the airlines do. We don't have concrete procedures. We can start our aircraft without a 147-page checklist. But let's face it, folks, we all can't be above average pilots. How many people here tonight think that they're above an average pilot? They're above average. Come on. Well, the sad thing is, statistics say that that's probably not the case. Maybe you sold your spouse on the idea of taking the airplane to the beach, or it's arguably better to fly for an hour to grandmother's than 5 hours in the car. Whatever. We should not start believing our own press. General aviation is a wonderful tool, but like any tool, it must be used properly. Now, on the other hand, by-flight statistics are pretty good. We have a very, very small chance of anything happening to us. But these statistics are slightly skewed. We really don't know what an average GA flight is. We do know that you're 5 times as more likely in an accident not to have a fatal injury. They only account for 1/5 of all the accidents. But this can all lead to complacency. This encourages that can't happen to me attitude. And that, my friends, is the first leading of the bad road to judgment. So what's the solution? We've met the problem. We are not going to quit flying. Yes, there's some risk, but if we want to be perfectly safe, we'd never really go anywhere. We'd never leave our houses. So we're not going to stop using our airplanes as tools. We want the utility out of our airplanes, but we don't want to become a statistic. That said, how can we reach that happy medium? How can we reconcile high risk and utility of our aircraft? This is the question that ponders us. Now, is experience the answer? As Bruce Landsberg, the ASF executive director, will tell you, I'll never do anything that stupid again. And to that list of pilots who said things like that, you can add my name, Roscoe. Everybody makes mistakes, but the goal is not to make the same mistake twice. Experience is a great teacher if it doesn't kill you. It's easy to conclude that there's no solution to this problem save experience, and experience does help. But we do make mistakes, and we don't like to repeat them. And we'd like to share them with others so they don't make that mistake. The problem is, sometimes those mistakes kill us before we've had a chance to learn. So it's not a cure. Even if we do make it through, we're still not out of the woods. In most cases, let's face it, a mistake will not kill you. Maybe we got lucky. The accident chain that was coming out, one link didn't hook up, and we missed a bullet. This gives us a chance to feel misplaced confidence. Like, oh, it can't happen to me. I've done this 100 times before. And again, you might have done it 100 times. What about that 101st time when the accident chain lines up, all the links are completed? What's the last thing a bold pilot says before he dies? Hey y'all, watch this. And then the last thing before his friend says before he dies is, oh heck, I can do that. Folks, let's not try to give Jex Foxworthy any more material for his routines. Now, you don't believe it can happen? 1994, Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington State. A case where arguably one of the most experienced and seasoned B-52 pilots, said by his friends to be very good, but also pushing the envelope. And one day, he pushed it just a little too far. And guess what? His friends were right. I lost a friend a few years ago in a very similar thing. And in his memorial, it was summed up best. We always knew it had to be like this. So, it's a problem. How do you gain experiences without having experiences? The quick answer is you don't. But you can recognize and avoid the experiences that might kill you. Still, experience is a very good teacher, and the things that really scare us in flying are probably the most effective learning experiences we can ever have. So, how do you get the experiences without hurting yourself? Judgment, decision making. That's where it comes into the process. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your attention tonight and wish you all a very good night and safe blue skies. Thank you.
So there you go. There's a take on pilot decision making. We hope you found it useful and informative. Thanks for watching and have a great day flying your Grumman. Freckles, our cat supervisor, and we'd like to introduce the new cats to you. We have Hopscotch there on the left. The other small ginger is Tarzan. He came with that name, and his sister will be popping up in just a second, and her name is Sweet Pea. These are the new cats that we've adopted into our home. It's going to be a nice little family, and we're having a ball. Thanks for watching.